Gopi Janavalabha Girivardhari Gopi Janavalabha Girivardhari Yasodanandana Braja Janaranjana Yasodanandana Braja Janaranjana Jamuna Tira Vanachari Jamuna Tira Vanachari Jamuna Tira Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Hare Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare Rama Hare Rama Hare Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Jaya Radha Girihari Radha Girihari Shri Radhe Radha Girihari Jaya Radha Girihari Radha Girihari Shri Radhe Radha Girihari Radha Prabhupada, 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 Jaya Jaya Prabhupada. Jaya Gurudeva, 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 Jaya Gurudeva, 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 Shri Prabhupada ki. I am Vishnu Bhava, Sapragat, His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami, Shri Prabhupada ki, Anantikoda Vaishnavinda ki, Namacharya Shri Haridas Thakur ki, Friends Kaho Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadha Shri Vasudeva Gaura Bhaktivinoda ki, Shri Shri Radha Krishna Gopinath Shama Kund Radha Kund Giri Govardhan ki, Shri Vrindavan Dham ki, Mayapur Navadvip Dham ki, Ganga Yamuna Mai ki, Bhakti Devi Tosi Devi ki, Samaveda Bhaktivinoda ki. All glories to the Simulavities. All glories to the Simulavities. All glories to the Simulavities. All glories to Sri Guru Sri Garanga. All glories to Sri Prabhupada. Krishna Goswami. So we'll start by reading a page or two from Srila Prabhupada's Lilamrita. Oh, Krishna. Thank you very much, brother. Whew, Krishna. This is just mercy, huh? We'll take the mercy. Okay, this chapter is entitled This Momentous Hour of Need. Continuing here. Easy Journey to Other Planets had been like a warm-up to his real work of presenting Srimad Bhagavatam. But now he was even more convinced of the need for books. Jai books. To preach, he would have to have books, especially if he were to go to the West. With the books, he could create a spiritual revolution. Literally, huh? Spiritual revolution. I remember when I got my book. I've told this story many times. I was in the back seat of a car on the Norwestern motorway, intoxicated, and we got a book. That is mercy. So Prabhupada's saying we need these books for a revolution. So here I was so fallen, and I got a book while intoxicated in the back seat of a car, and now here I am. This is the power of Srila Prabhupada's books, you know, literally, huh? With the books, he could create a spiritual revolution. There was so much literature in the West, but Westerners had nothing like this, nothing to fill their spiritual vacuum. Although he wanted to give us as much time, although he wanted to give as much time as possible to Srimad Bhagavatam, he decided to continue with Bhagavad Gita by using excerpts from already existing book manuscripts as articles. Occasionally, however, he would write and print a new article in relevant inquiries he wrote. Quote, here we go. We are just trying to make an humble attempt to save the human being by propaganda of back to Godhead. This propaganda is not fictitious. If there is any reality at all, this propaganda of back to Godhead is the beginning of that era of reality. Jai Srila Prabhupada, end quote. In a godless civilization, Bhaktivedanta Swami referred to Prime Minister Nehru's complaints about the misuse of public funds in the name of religion. Bhaktivedanta Swami noted that although there were undoubtedly instances in which religious leaders were implicated in criminal offences, if the statistics were compared, the religious cheaters would be outnumbered by the political cheaters. That's a classic, isn't it? The religious leaders would be outnumbered by the political leaders. Although Pandit Nehru had been right in warning of religious fraud, the warning could not be effective without a thorough reform of spiritual institutions. And that reform could be accomplished only with the cooperation of government leaders. Bhaktivedanta Swami quoted from his letter in which he asked Prime Minister Nehru to take up the study of Bhagavad Gita. But as he informed his Back to Godhead readers, Pandit Nehru had never replied. Quote, because of his lack of spiritual knowledge, he thought that this institution, the League of Devotees, might be something like that of so many mutts and temples which have become the source of headache for the Pandit. End quote. Bhaktivedanta Swami charged that Pandit Nehru thought that any spiritual organization, quote, is a dungeon for accumulating public funds and then misuse it for questionable purposes. And here's another quote. He, however, approves of the so-called sadhus who do social service and talk nonsense in the spiritual science. This is so because he has no depth of spiritual knowledge for himself, although he is Brahmin and Pandit. Ignorance in spiritual knowledge is the qualification of the Sudras or the laborer class, end quote. He requested Pandit Nehru not to be afraid of the word God or Krishna, but we can assure him that there is no such cause of fear because Krishna is everyone's friend. Jai. And able to render real help to everyone, end quote. Bhaktivedanta Swami ended by suggesting that immoral practices were not confined only to the temples of India, but were common to materialistic civilization all over the world. In particular, he cited the disturbances amongst youth that were becoming rampant in the 1960s. And then we have another quote here, and then we'll finish on this. This is an excerpt from his letter, by the looks of this. The best thing will be for the physician to heal himself first, because in godless civilization, while the occupants of the mats and temples have been the cause of headache for the pundit, the same thing under a different label has been the cause of headache for other European and Asian statesmen. The unbridled youngsters of those countries under the name of teddy boys in England, and the rebels without cause in America, and the half-strong in Germany, and the leather jackets in Sweden, the children of the sun in Japan, and the style boys in the USSR are some of the byproducts of a godless civilization. And that is the root cause of all headache. That requires thorough treatment. Srila Prabhupada Ki. So he was very aware, he's quoted all the names of all the different youthful gangsters. Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Anam Namaskrityarnam Traiva Narotaman Devan Saraswatam Vyasam Takojayam Udiraya. Okay, text, chapter 22, Priti Maharaj's meeting with the four Kumaras, text number 54. Vijitsavam Duram, Vijitasvam Durakesham. Vijitasvam Durakesham. Arayaksham Ravinam Vrikam. Aryaksham Ravinam Vrikam. Savesham Lokapalanam. Savesham Lokapalanam. Dadharaika Pritugunan. Dadharaka Pritugunan. Jitasvam Dumrakesham. Parakesham Dravam Vrikam. Savesham Lokapalanam. Dadharaika Pritugunan. Vichitasvam Dumrakesham. Aryaksham Dravinam Vrikam. Savesham Lokapalanam. Dadharaika Pritugunan. What did you say? Paraksham Gavanamrikam Savisham Lokapalanam Dadareka Prituganam. Okay. Vijitsavam of the name Vijitatsva, name Vijit Dumrakisham of the name Dumraksha. Oh, sorry, no. Yes, of the name Dumariksha. Haryaksham of the name Haryaksha. Dravinam of the name Dravina. Vrikam of the name Vrika. Sarvesham of all. Lokapalanam, the governing heads of all planets. Dadhara, accepted. Ekaha, one. Rituhu, Ritu Maharaj. Gunan, all qualities. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace, Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. After begetting 5 sons named Vijitasva, Dumrakisha, Haryaksha, Dravina, and Vrika, Prithu Maharaj continued to rule the planet. He accepted all the qualities of the deities who governed all other planets. Purport. In each and every planet, there is a predominating deity. It is understood from Bhagavad Gita that in the sun there is a predominating deity named Vivishva. Similarly, there are predominating deities of the moon and of the various planets. Actually, the predominating deities in all the other planets are descendants from the predominating deity of the sun and the moon. On this planet Earth, there are 2 Kshatriya dynasties, and one comes from the predominating deity of the sun and the other from the predominating deity of the moon. These dynasties are known as Surya Vamsa and Chandra Vamsa, respectively. When the monarchy existed on this planet, the chief member was one of the members of the Surya dynasty or Surya Vamsa, and the subordinate kings belonged to the Chandra Vamsa. However, Maharaj Prithu was so powerful that he could exhibit all the qualities of the predominating deities in other planets. In the modern age, people of Earth have tried to go to the moon, but they have not been able to find anyone there, what to speak of meeting the moon's predominating deity. The Vedic literature, however, repeatedly informs us that the moon is full of highly elevated inhabitants who are counted amongst the demigods. We are therefore always in doubt about what kind of moon adventure the modern scientists of this planet Earth have undertaken. Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Translation: after begetting 5 sons named Vijatatsva, Dumrakisha, Haryaksha, Dravina, and Vrika, Prithu Maharaj continued to rule the planet. He accepted all the qualities of the deities who governed all the other planets. I was born in the darkness of ignorance, and by the mercy of my spiritual master, he is kindly forcing open my eyes with the torchlight of transcendental knowledge. For my respectful obeisance. So we're now getting close to the end of this chapter, where Prithu meets the 4 Kumaras. So we are hearing here how we have the 4 sons from Prithu Maharaj, And he was, his qualities were so exalted. We understand he's virtually an incarnation of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And yet when these great personalities, the four Kumaras, came, he respectfully greeted them, and then they spoke, right? So we're so fortunate that we have these conversations, that we can hear what these great personalities are saying from these great, from the elevated planets all throughout this entire universe. So here in the second part of the purport, Prabhupada is mentioning this moon planet. So recently India apparently landed. And what do they see? Just dust. They are not seeing the personalities, and they are not hearing the glories of what we should be hearing. Well, what are they looking for? Dust, maybe a little bit of ice or water, but all this is just useless. So much expenditure. Again, we were hearing, when we were just reading from Srila Prabhupada's Leelamrita, that the politicians are criticizing the pundits, but they're spending all this money and they're not educating anybody. So this is where we are. Here we are in Kali Yuga. So I don't want to dwell too much on, the waste of resources and what is the result of this great endeavor. So many people are starving and homeless. Anyhow, so it's Kali Yuga. Welcome to Kali Yuga, where everything is topsy-turvy, and the Sudras are leading us to hell, basically. But we are so fortunate now. We are in what is called the golden age. Actually, this time now we are starting to see things rise up. The good things are coming, and the bad things are being exposed. Like we had the death of the Queen recently, which, God save the Queen. But then some of, Prince Andrew and all the rascal things he was up to. So everything is getting exposed now. You cannot hide. It's just due course of time before things are revealed. And we should be also aware of that. Don't think you can get away with nonsense. It will catch up with you eventually, and it will bite you. So my point, or what I was thinking today, I'm just going to review or go back and hear some of the great words from the four Kumaras. What are they actually saying? What was their instruction? So obviously, it's like hearing the Bhagavad Gita in a way. It's like a condensed version of the Bhagavad Gita, detachment and what have you. So I'll just read a few of these verses just so we can refresh ourselves of what the whole purpose of hearing is and what to hear. So I'll start just text 21. It has been conclusively decided in the scriptures, so this is Sanat Kumar speaking, after due consideration, that the ultimate goal for the welfare of human society is detachment from the bodily concept of life, and increased and steadfast attachment for the Supreme Lord, who is transcendental beyond the modes of material nature. Attachment for the Supreme can be increased by practicing devotional service, inquiring about the Supreme Personality of Godhead, applying bhakti yoga in life, worshipping the Yogeshwara, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and by hearing and chanting about the glories of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. These actions are pious in themselves. So they are encouraging human society to become a little bit detached and to become attached to the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So we are so fortunate that we can hear these instructions, that we understand that there is a personality of Godhead. It's not just one big Brahman, because there are so many other philosophies about what is the ultimate or the absolute truth. So for us, it's just inconceivable mercy that we have. I'm sitting here with a garland that has been worn by Srila Prabhupada or the deities. I'm not too sure where this one's come from, but to receive this mercy is just inconceivable. And then to hear about the land of Vrindavan, forget about the moon planet and what the modern scientist is saying. We want to hear about the loving exchanges between the Supreme Person, his beautiful form, his deep voice and his activities, so that we can be attracted to that, where they have the big water pistols, and they're wedding, and they're having these joyful exchanges. We want to smile and be happy and remember the wonderful activities of the Supreme Lord. We don't want to be morose, and meditate on the negative aspects of the Supreme Lord. We want to meditate and absorb ourselves on the pastimes in the land of Vrindavan or in Navadvip, Mahaprabhu's pastimes. And remember these things so that we can become enlivened and we become very grateful for the opportunity to hear these things and, even just to come and take darshan of the Lord. These things are just really what will inspire us to become detached from this material world. Because if we don't have these things, if we don't have this, the scriptures describing the beauty of the Lord and Radharani and the pastimes that are going on there, it becomes very morbid and gross. Very, very, just very dry. So we are so fortunate. I'll just read a few more encouraging words from Samat Kumar. When a person becomes devoid of all material desires and liberated from all material qualities, he transcends distinctions between actions executed externally and internally. At that time, the difference between the soul and the supersoul, which was existing before self-realization, is annihilated. When a dream is over, technology. Sorry about that. When a dream is over, so I'm still caught up in the dream. But they are encouraging us that this bodily identification, we will gradually give that up, and we can go internally, and we'll realize that we hear about the Paramatma within the heart, and we can get that reciprocation. Just absorbing ourselves and having the remembrance of the Supreme Personality of Godhead is really so much more, I was going to say potent, but what's the right word? So valuable to be able to remember Krishna. Yesterday, I went to a funeral for one of my relatives, and you realize that how fortunate we are that we can hear about the Lord and remember the Lord, because what's at the time of death, this is what we're going to be hanging on to. Hopefully we may be hearing the Maha Mantra, hearing Srila Prabhupada in the background. And by, this is if we're dying from old age, we may die suddenly also. But if we can have this remembrance, training the mind, manmana bhava madbhakto is what Krishna is saying, always remember me. And it is such a wonderful thing to be able to do that, to be able to remember the lotus feet of the Lord, any aspect of the Lord. This is the most wonderful thing, because like yesterday, I went to one of my uncles. He passed away. He lived a long life. He lived till 93. But he didn't have any of this, where did he go? What was his final thought at the time of death? We understand the science of whatever state of being one remembers at the time of death, that state he's going to attain. So we're really vigorously trying to please Krishna and please Krishna's devotees, so that at that time of death, whenever it may be in a car accident, we could go at any time. But at that moment, hopefully we have some credits there, and we'll be able to remember Krishna, the lotus feet of the Lord, the form of Sri Sri Radha Giridhari or Mahaprabhu. And with that remembrance, it's very inconceivable things will happen. When we take Srimad Bhagavatam literally, we hear of the swan planes coming down and the residents of the Vaikuntha planets and their youthful forms and their forearms. If we take this and absorb this as the absolute truth, then our destination is very wonderful. We can do this by the power of our mind and the power of our intelligence. With our intelligence, we can see old ages coming, right? Like I went to this funeral yesterday. This guy was 93. He still had some friends from way back, from when he went to intermediate school, right? So when he was 12, 13, one of his old friends came there. He was like 93 as well, right? But you can see they have these memories. But within all those memories, there's no memory of doing any seva or service. Maybe a little bit of service to God. Maybe they've done something. But for us as devotees, we can fill our minds with so much remembrance of, the swing festivals, the boat festivals, the festivals at Govardhan, the times we went to India and we rolled in the dust there, and we went and visited all the deities and we bathed in the Yamuna, and we took a boat ride on the Yamuna, and then we went back for a big kirtan, and then we had a feast. If we're fortunate enough, we have these memories, and these memories are going to take us to the spiritual realm. This is the science of devotional. This is how the science works. As ye sow, so shall ye reap. So if we are fortunate enough to serve the devotees, serve the deities, serve the holy name, rest assured, Prabhupada is telling us, your desired goal will be achieved. So we have, this is our conviction. And it is actually a fact. When you see how little everybody else has, apart from us as devotees, going there yesterday, everybody's wearing black and looking very morbid, and they're all very old and frail, and we had like a service, what was the song we were singing? How great thou art. How great thou art. How great thou art. And then I'm thinking, Govindam, Adi Purusham, how great thou art, how great thou art. Really, the lotus feet of the Lord, let's bring that form into our consciousness, but they're just hovering on the peripherals, how great they are, but how is great? Is he an old man with a beard, or what does he look like? And what does he do? And so we are Govindam. So we're so ridiculously fortunate. We have hopped in the lift and we have gone to the top, not by any qualification. This is the mercy that we are getting, and this is the mercy we're trying to give out to everybody. Forget about qualification, because we don't have any qualification. But if we have humility and we are able to respect, your Trinadapi, which is, something that can never be underestimated. If you have a little bit of that, then you'll get taken along. It's like the boat. There's also mentioned here in one of the verses by the four Kumaras, that, this like hopping in a boat. You can cross this material ocean, this vast material ocean. And like this universe, because the thing, my point is our mind is going to take us to our next destination. Our mind is our, like this, Arjuna is saying, to control the mind is like trying to control the wind. But it is the mind and what we are thinking of that is going to transport us. So, before we came to this Krishna consciousness, we are eternal spirit souls. We have been there and done that. As far as being in this universe or previous universes, being inside Mahavishnu's body and breathing out and coming and, having your own planet and all the queens and all the palaces and the gold and the opulence. We've had all that. But the thing is time, we are chopped down by time. She is coming and taking everything away. So we have to use our intelligence and understand why try and achieve these things that is, so temporary. Absorb our minds in the eternal, and the supreme, So like I say, we're in this lift and we've gone to the top floor, and here it is. Sri Sri Radha Giridhari is here. There's a beautiful picture of the gopis dancing on this wall. This is the highest thing. What is more higher than, a forest full of, beautiful gopis and the Supreme Lord, dancing on a moonlit night? What is more attractive than that? Because we know Ravana and all the demons there are attracted to Sita, so there's that lust is there. The attraction is undeniable. And we also experience this attraction. But as soon as we shift that attraction to service to Radha and Krishna in the land of Vrindavan, or Mahaprabhu in the land of Navadvip, then we're in such a wonderful place, because it is reality. This body is destined to be turned to dust. So don't try and hang on to anything. Go internally, absorb yourself in the absolute truth and the glory of the Supreme Lord. And your goal, you are locking in your destination. And this is really what we should be thinking about with our intelligence. So India has landed on the moon, but they're not giving us the real wealth, which is this knowledge, this transcendental knowledge. Imagine they're on the moon and then, they see these 4 young boys approaching them and they're not touching the ground, and then they inquire for them, who are you? Where have you come from? And they're going detachment from this material world and attachment to the Supreme Personality of Godhead. They would have to shut down the live broadcast. Oh, we can't have that. The politicians wouldn't be happy if that was being broadcast. Detachment and attachment to the Supreme Personality of Godhead. But this is really who is on the moon planet, Prabhupada is saying. These are the residents on the moon planet. They are great elevated personalities. And what are they doing? They are thinking and aspiring about Sri Krishna or Govinda. But we've just been given it so easily. Sometimes we take it, a little bit cheaply. It's been given to us, but we don't really understand what we've been given. We've been given such a great wealth. Forget about the touchstone, get the touchstone, throw it in the river. We don't need the opulence. We don't need to touch everything and turn everything into gold. What we need to do is just get some more flowers so we can offer them to Krishna. If we had something that we could go and create some more flowers, especially this time of the year, give us that. Give us a stone that turns things into flowers. We want more flower petals so that we can offer them to Krishna and be absorbed in the mood of Vrindavan. This is really what we want to do. Okay, I'll leave it there because it's a very busy day today. The management, we've got a lot happening this weekend. My God, so much happening. So there's lots of services to be done, chopping, preparing for tomorrow, and all in the mood of preaching and enlivening others. And there is so much to do. And it'll never stop. We'll just keep serving. While we're still fit and able, we can do service, and then we can absorb ourselves in Krishna and be grateful like that. And then more and more we'll become more and more absorbed. And then we can even be in a state of samadhi while we're executing our services. Whatever our services, doesn't matter. Some great souls are down there cleaning, and other great souls are in the kitchen chopping. And Krishna is aware of everything. We understand. It's such a wonderful aspect, isn't it, that Krishna is aware of everything, and our struggles also. We have to go through the Grihastha ashram and struggle so much, but there is light at the end of the tunnel. We just have to be patient, perform our duty, raise our kids as best we can, and then the kids will be able to support themselves, hopefully. Anyhow, there's so many ups and downs in this material world. As long as we can remember Krishna, whatever it is, look at the problems of Kunti and all that. We're just grateful for our situation. We've got clothes on, we've got a roof over our head. We can remember Krishna. Okay, I'll just read the translation now. After begetting 5 sons named Vitatsva, Dhumraksha, Arayaksha, Ravina, and Vrika, Prithu Maharaj continued to rule the planet. He accepted all the qualities of the deities who governed all the other planets. So we have to try and watch our qualities, be in the mode of goodness if you can. Practice, fake it till you make it. Just try and be a nice devotee, control the tongue, chant Hare Krishna, do some service, and everything will be revealed with it from within. Rest assured, Krishna's in there, and you do some service for Krishna, he is very grateful because he is our dearmost friend. Your dearmost friend is seated within your heart, and he is going to reciprocate with you accordingly. So we try and do anything for Krishna, and he will reciprocate. Jai, the great souls arrive. So yeah, we are so fortunate. Okay, any questions, comments? Yes, Manaji. Be in the lift. Yeah. We get thrown in. This is inconceivable mercy, but also previous lives. Who were you in your previous life? And you have earned from your previous lifetimes. Yeah, yes. For some, You know, like for myself, zero qualification. This is, you know, like I say, it's mercy. It really is. It's just a matter of whether we realize what mercy we have, because it's like there's a saying, casting pearls to the swines or the pigs, you know. They don't, you know, they don't, you can give them they just trample on it. And so, yeah, there is some qualification there. There has to be, you know, but then it's an interesting thing, because there's inconceivable mercy. Like I say, from an inconceivable mercy for me, it's like, you know, my birth was very degraded, and, you know, but then you can say, oh, past life, you were a great yogi, and then now you've taken this birth, and now you are here, and now our duty is to preach. To continue. Yeah. Because what we're trying to do is we're spreading, you know, like Harinam is a classic example. We are going down Queen Street loudly chanting, and there are so many personalities there who are fortunate to hear. And that can be the beginning. You know, then they may leave their bodies, and then next life they carry, you know, so we understand that as we progress, we're carrying on. Nothing is lost, which is also encouraging as well. But there is so much mercy here now. It's just a crazy time, you know, and we understand the Devas are lining up to take birth. This is the best time to be. You know, it is Kali Yuga, and there are so many other, you know, moral hypocrisy and all that. But yeah, you know, and yeah, I understand. So your question is, do we need that secretly to? Yes and no. You know, it's like a, you know, it's a bit of both. You know, at Chincha Beta Beta Tattva, there's so many contradictions and things like that. Yeah, yeah. And so, you know, some people are very wealthy and some are not. You know, the whole thing, it's all, you know, but the best thing is with our vision to see through all that and see equally, you know, because Krishna, rest assured, Krishna knows what we should have and what we shouldn't have. So everybody is getting exactly what they require. You know, like one of my cousins, her daughter went for a holiday in Bali just recently, and smack in came off her scooter, had a big crash in Bali. 20-year-old girl, she came off her scooter, and you know, and you're in Bali, and you know, she needs surgery on her leg, and you know, all the chaos, you know. But Krishna knew that's what she needed, so then mum had to jump on a plane and fly there, and you know, get her out of the hospital and bring her back and put her back in the hospital again. And Krishna knows, you know, so calamities, you know, Krishna knows what calamities we need and what we don't need. And so it's all inconceivably wonderful. You know, like earlier on, I was seeing the birds just under the veranda here. Even the birds here, you know, they're special souls to be able to come here and, you know, nibble on the Mahapashadam, and then there's all the ants on the floor. And, you know, the Lord is so kind, you know, even like for the great souls want to become insects and get squashed by the devotees. You know, what's going on there? Anything to be connected to a devotee. You know, because, you know, imagine being an ant on the altar. We can't imagine being an ant on the altar, but you're an ant on the altar, and then, you know, someone stands on you while they're dressing the deity, and then, you know, next thing you wake up and you're in the land of Vrindavan. This is the power of Krishna, you know. So yeah, there's so, yeah, because, you know, we can say there's so many rules and regulations, and again, in the nectar of instruction, we shouldn't be too attached to rules and regulations, but the rules and regulations are there to keep us on the human platform, you know, and make sure everything is going nicely like that. But don't be too attached to rules and regulations for the purpose of preaching. So that was me yesterday. You know, I had to go with all my relatives, you know, and the funeral and all very morbid and Then we come out of the little church. Guess what we did next? Yes, there was a little bit of feasting. Alcohol. Drinking. We go to the church and then there's a little reception where all the old nanas have their sandwiches and their cups of tea. And then we're going across the road now to the pub. This is the culture that we are living in nowadays, right? So me, I could be, I'm not going, I could be like that, but for the purpose of developing the relationships with my cousins, and my aunties, some of them hadn't seen me for 40 years, so for the purpose of just keeping the relationships good, I went to the pub, and there with them and I was just looking at my clock, 1 hour, 2 hours, dear Lord, get me out of here. I couldn't go because I'd been taken a lift by my brother and we had taken the auntie, and the auntie was like, so we were just hanging around. So I'm not attached to rules and regulations, but if I was, there's no way I would have stepped foot in the bar where everyone's intoxicated and the energy and all that. But we do this for preaching on, with family and situations like that. And then I'm thinking coming out of there, I've got to give class tomorrow. But this is good. It's like cleansing all that from yesterday, just woof, and then I get it going. So being practical, Yeah, purification, big time. I needed it, But then we bless those souls. So they'll all go home and they'll talk about, this Tony guy, he's a Hare Krishna, and he's doing this and that. And he was such a nice man. He was very polite, and because I had my seeker, I had to be careful because I wasn't going to go dressed like this, because you're detracting from the poor gentleman that's just left his body, So I was sort of undercover, incognito, so to speak. But this is what we do, So yeah, there's so many, whys and hows and rules and what have you, but we just got to adjust it according to our situation. Everybody's situation is so unique, so different, and we don't know what that situation of everybody else is. So we can't look from here and judge like that. We should never. We just got to get the mind, beat the mind with a stick. Where's that bamboo stick we were using for the donk donk? Just keep to yourself. Just worry about yourself. That's a big enough problem. But it is very easily solved when we do service. You do some service and don't worry about the problems. Krishna will take care of everything. The sun is coming up and the moon is coming up. Everything's under control. No worries over there, Krishna Chandra. Everything's under control. There he is. Although we get in anxiety for so many reasons, but we should sometimes just take a deep breath. Moon planet, sun planet, Om Bhava Swaha, Krishna Govinda. Just it's not my problem really. I'm just in this body and everything is going on around me. I'm like the witness. So become a little bit detached and give yourself a break. Detachment is very helpful. We're in these situations because of our past activities. Krishna knows, but now we're chanting his names. He's going to adjust everything. We've unplugged the fan, slowing down. This takes a bit of time. Might take 20 years. But that's not very long in the breath of Mahavishnu. Don't worry about it. It's just like, so yeah, we get thrown in the lift, whether we're qualified or not. Hopefully someone pushes the right button and it's the top floor. We don't want to stop on the way up, because that is there also when we're leaving. We can, we go past all the other planets and we hear about it. We're looking down, all those girls are so attractive and pretty and they're all bathing in the river. Do we stop? No, we keep going this way, please. But this is what we have to deal with, the attraction. So we're attracted to the gopis. We're so lucky we get to hear about the gopis. There are these girls who are very attractive and we're attracted to them. We just want to look after them. We want to serve them. So we're hanging on to, Rupa, Sanatan, we hang on to their feet because those girls are so fortunate, and they've got lots of milk sweets, So, and again, that mood of Vrindavan, the water pistols and the pouring of the yogurt on the, all these loving exchanges that go on. That's really what we should be absorbing ourselves in. The mischievous things that Krishna gets up to, his tricks and plans and dressing up as a gopi and, all these jolly, wonderful, loving exchanges is really where we go. But initially it might be, all the rules and regulations, very rigid. But then when you get past all that stuff, You know, you start hearing about all the other things that Krishna did, you know, stealing their clothes and, you know, just, innocent. But it takes purity. Purity is the force, you know, so we have to become pure internally, you know, follow the rules and regulations, keep within the boundaries, and become mad after Krishna. Such a nice process, you know. Okay, so everybody, yes? Huh? That is another class. My point is whether they did or they didn't, regardless of whether they did or didn't, they didn't see the four Kumaras. You know, they're not going to give us anything that we don't know. You know, it's not like they're going to, something new is going to be revealed. Well, we came across these great shining personalities, you know, and they were singing whatever they were singing, you know, like I'm thinking, what's the one they do in Mayapur? Anyhow, there's so many mantras. Yeah, Purusha Shukta. We saw these effulgent personalities singing the Purusha Shukta. You know, if they told us that, then maybe we would listen and be interested. But they're not going to find anything. It's all political, you know, stuff, and who's got the most nuclear bombs and who's got the biggest jet to, you know, going up. It's just madness, really, when we think about it. You know, what are they going to achieve? You know, whereas for us, we want to achieve just all we want is an attachment to the lotus feet of the Supreme. That's all we want. Because with that comes everything. Attachment to the Lord is really all we really want. You know, Najanam, Nasundaram, no desire for wealth, no desire for woman, you know, but this takes time to come to that level. Because at the moment, desire for wealth, desire for woman, those things are still lingering. You know, they're like hooks and traps, you know, so we have to just try and keep our blinkers on and keep doing service. And before we know it, very shortly, we will be taking our last breath. And hopefully our mind will be, you know, right there on the bank of Radhakund or wherever. This is really the blessing that we want. That when we take our last breath, we will be remembering the banks of Radhakund. And they'll be decorated in jewels. And we'll hear the tinkling of the bells of the gopis running. And then they'll pick us up and wake us up. And we'll be like, my God, that was a nightmare. So this is what we want. We want to wake up on the bank of the shores of Radhakund and hear the tinkling of the girls, gopis, ankle bells as they come running to get us. That can be the meditation of the day, huh? Waking up on the bank of Radhakund in our eternal youthful form. This is the reality. We're just got to get rid of all these other layers. These other layers are still haunting us, but don't worry, very shortly we will hear the tinkling of their bells. Okay, let's leave it there, right? Grantaraj Srimad Bhagavatam ki, Srila Prabhupada ki. Chopping vegetables ki. Hare Krishna. Yeah. I know it's the other sort. Why? Hello. Yes.